Hello, y'all, and welcome to this season of Hanging Out with Temi. We have not been this full for a while. Some New South Wales ladies been dealing with some sheep and goats or something like that. And good to see you, Heidi. Heidi, you were meant to take us to Egypt, and that did not work this year. Unfortunately, what have you been up to?
So yes, the Egypt trip is going to be postponed till next year. So everybody has the time to plan for it, to take the holidays they want, to financially budget and everything. So that's hopefully happening next year, sometime in April. I'm thinking. Temi, I'd love to hear more about the trip that you are going to Jerusalem this year. So maybe another time we can discuss that. But this is one of the things that I'd love you to share with us, because this is the big fat highlight, something that is extremely phenomenal. I'd love to learn more about it.
Definitely, I will tell you more, and I'll tell you all more about it. Closer to the time. I need to get closer to Jerusalem, because otherwise, I don't know what is happening in this wide world that we're in. Seriously, but Miss Greatness, it's good to see you. Once we see you once in a year, and then disappeared. How have you been? But you're looking well, I must say.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's I think when you have good friends and you get the support that you want or you need at a particular time, it helps. It really helps. So yeah, I think this is how you look when you are supported.
Oh, there you go. Good to hear, Heidi. When the hands of God, right?
Yes.
This is how you look when you are supported.
I love it. But I hope everyone out there also is being supported, and you got to look for that support. No one is an island. You cannot be by yourself. But this week we've got an amazing man coming on. I don't know if there are many men in this industry when it comes to gynae, because we always want the women, but we got a man that is a phenomenal. He's been doing this forever, and he appears really passionate about what he does. So I'm fascinated about it. And this is something that personally I don't know a lot about, but I hear people talking about infertility, IVF, but all I hear about it is pain, is agony, is money, is this. So I feel sorry every time, and it's not really appealing to me. I just have to pray for them. But if you see someone that could help you, Dr. Abe is the person that does, and you can see how he does it with his heart and everything. So I thought, please come and share with us. Maybe that will alleviate some of the pains. And me personally, I carry a lot of pain when people are doing IVF. We've done 20 and we lost 19. All these things is just depressing. So we thought we bring Dr. Abe on the show to come and enlighten us today. And I was asking, Heidi, have you done IVF or you didn't have to do it? You were just...
No, I didn't. Yeah, had normal stuff.
You have to do. Liz, did you attempt IVF before? Don't answer. Let us go on a quick break with Dr. Abe, because I don't know. God knows what this girl is done in Thailand, wherever he's been to. We go on a quick break and we'll be in Dr. Abe. Sorry. welcome on the show, Dr. Moses Abe. Nice to see you.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you for having me, Temi. So good to be with you.
In fact, you got no idea. We got no idea. We first, let me speak for myself. Don't miss because these ladies here, they got too much ideas. I don't when it comes to this. So I really, really appreciate you for coming because these are the conversations that we don't generally have with each other. And like I said, when people talk to me about IVF, it's just it always breaks my heart. I always feel depressed. So I don't engage and I just say, I'll pray. I don't want to know much. But then I discovered that maybe it's good for me to know, but I don't want to know from someone who is going through it. I want to know for the person that delivers it. And this is where we come to you. But you haven't met Miss Greatness before. That's Miss Greatness. We call her His Royal Highness.
Hello.
Hi, Doctor.
Nice.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And that's my beautiful friend Heidi Soliman. You haven't met Heidi. Heidi is our all-knowing.
Hello, Heidi. Nice to meet you.
Great meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Moses, we have got you only for a little while today, half an hour. But I'm just trying to look at just a quick one about you. Your bio was too much. I was looking at it. Okay, here we are. Moses is currently a medical director of Melbourne Fertility Clinic as well as Monash IVF specialist. Dr. Abe is a fellow of the following places: Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynaecologists UK, Royal Australia New Zealand College of Obstetricians and Gynaecologists, Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, is an alumni of Ibadan. Is one of the greatest, debatable universities in the whole of Nigeria. Great, but they said great if it is, but who knows? It could be Unilag, but Ibadan is actually a very notable university. The first university in the nation, anyway, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah, it was. Thank you so much, Dr. Abe. But all these things, you are an island. You're not an African. Were you born in Ireland or something? I heard from a vine.
No, I was born at Elisha in Ocean State.
Right. But you lived in Ireland. Are you an Irish person or Australian?
Well, I'm both. I trained in Ireland for many years, did my postgraduate in Ireland, and went to the UK to further the studies as well in IVF as well. So, yeah, so I'm a bit of everything, really.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, welcome. All these college of this or college of that. You are the best person to talk to when we talk about IVF. But when we were talking about IVF, Miss Great Liz was saying that no, let us stop there. Let us go back. So Liz, I'll let you go to where you want to go because she's like, don't talk about IVF. Let us talk about something else. So.
Yeah, I was talking about, I think that's where it starts, when the women go and freeze their eggs. And yeah, and we were kind of just talking about, the reasons why and where the world is going to, with freezing eggs and eventually progressing after about 15, 20 years to the IVF, and then also the effectiveness of the eggs at that point in time, and all the challenges that comes together with that, because at that time sometimes you are not old enough to produce more eggs, or the quality of the eggs at the time that you need them are probably low or whatever, not up to standard, and then it really becomes a challenge. So and we were kind of talking, brainstorming around that, but it's good to have you as the expert to talk us through, around the egg freezing and related issues.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very topical question. Just a bit of background about egg freezing, why it's important, why we actually talk about it. As you probably know, women were born with a finite amount of eggs, ranging, starting from a couple of millions and finally down to just a couple of 100,000 by the time they reach puberty. So that is a real challenge. It may sound like a lot of eggs, but as we get older, the quality does decrease and the numbers that are actually available to use declines somehow rapidly from 38, onwards. It does decline at all times, but there is a sharp decline around that age. So egg freezing is an attempt to basically, slow down the effect of aging, if you like. Basically, it's about why don't we harvest those eggs when we're young, in the 20s, in the early 30s, harvest those eggs, store them, and if we need them at some point, in our late 30s or early 40s, then we could go back and tap into them and use them. That's the whole idea. So as you can probably see, anyone who is thinking about having children, having a family, is eligible for egg freezing. So it's very important for us as a nation community to know that that particular technology is available and it does work. It's not an insurance policy, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And that's because we have had babies born through, egg freezing, and we do know what the chances are if eggs are frozen. For instance, if you're 35 years of age, you had about 20 eggs frozen, your chance of having at least one baby from that particular procedure is close to 70, 80%. So, and that's better than coming from, 0%. So it is taking off. There are at least 3,000 to 4,000 Victorians have had their eggs frozen in the last few years. And so it is really a topical issue, and I think it's the one that we're very happy to engage with.
Really,
Can I just ask in terms of the cost, Temi, is it a procedure that's available to all the different classes of people, or is it just for the well-off people? Can a middle class or a lower class person also go and freeze their eggs in terms of the cost?
Yeah, good question. So what we're trying to achieve ultimately is for egg freezing to be available to every person that would like to preserve their fertility. But the reality is it does cost some money. Just to give you an instance, that broadly speaking, there are two types of egg freezing. One is medical egg freezing, and the other is commonly referred to as social egg freezing. Now, medical egg freezing simply refers to where a specialist like myself advises that it is best to freeze eggs because there are reasons where it might not be possible in future to be able to, achieve pregnancy. So one of those will be, individuals undergoing cancer treatments where the medications or the treatments may negatively impact on fertility as well. So that's one classic example of where we advise that eggs are frozen prior to treatment. There are other instances too, but they're the most common category of medical egg freezing. Social egg freezing, not a name I like, just because it suggests that it's something that you do like social drinking or something. It's not something you just casually do. But the whole idea is to say that, the doctor hasn't recommended egg freezing specifically, but that's a choice you have made to have some kind of insurance policy, if you can call it that, in future. So those kind of egg freezing would attract cost. Medical egg freezing are typically covered by Medicare, but social egg freezing will still incur some cost.
Do you mind, doctor, if I ask like social egg freezing? average, just average?
Yeah. So I perform egg freezing with Monash IVF, and the cost has reduced substantially over the last few years. So you can expect to pay between $6,000 and $7,000 for social egg freezing. Yeah, currently.
Is that yearly or for the duration of the storage?
Yeah, so that particular cost applies to the actual procedure where we manage the cycle with the medications, the actual egg harvest. Now there is additional cost yearly, typically to keep those frozen eggs, in storage. But they usually a couple of $100 typically to go, to have those eggs frozen.
That's actually not bad. We will go on a quick break and we'll ask. We've got more questions for you. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Welcome back on the show. We still got Dr. Moses Abe with us on the show. Thank you for that information, because actually it's not as bad as I thought. I was thinking, hundreds and thousands. That's not bad. Heidi, have you got your question before I go?
Yes, I just wanted to know about the age limit, because I was talking to a friend a few months ago, and she said that she was, she never froze her eggs, and she never actually looked at the health of her eggs and all that, and she was 42. So I was wondering if this is something that she can do right now.
Yes, very good question. And it's a question that we will get normally from GPs, from patients. I mean, the truth is there is no age barrier to egg freezing. Having said that, you will have to discuss with your practitioner as to what is a chance that you would use that eggs, and those eggs will be useful for the purpose for which they were stored. For instance, at age of 42, the number of eggs we can possibly collect is low, and we need to collect far more to have similar pregnancy rates compared to someone, for instance, who is 30 years old. So in a nutshell, age is not a barrier, but it is good to have an open discussion and a transparent discussion about about the expectations from that kind of procedure. So the answer is 42 is fine. But obviously, as you probably know, some people are 42 years old, but when it comes to biology, they probably behave like 33 years old. And so I would say my advice would be to discuss with your specialist in particular and see what advice we're getting from the variety of tests and assessments that may need to be performed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So I looked at some of the reasons why the women might have problems, and I got the things like blocked fallopian tube, endometriosis, uterine fibrosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and all these things. And then also the male sperm count or quality. What if somebody has got endometriosis or has got that fallopian block, and then the husband's sperm? So you're going to be working on the husband and working on the wife. I mean, that's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's not as bad as that.
Okay.
You're right about. We'll start with the blocked fallopian tube. That does resonate a bit more with us because the first IVF pregnancy, baby that was born in the UK in 1978, was purely because of the mother's tubes were blocked. So that was the main reason why IVF was, in fact, if you like, invented. So and it is highly successful for those reasons. But as time passed by, we started to use IVF for other reasons as well, and such as ovulation problems and endometriosis. But in the last 10, 20 years, IVF is now being used, you know, um, for male factor as well, what we call male factor, which is basically male, infertility. So, for instance, um, a gentleman with no sperm at all, which we will call azoospermia, could still father a child biologically. And that may seem unbelievable, but it is true. Because using IVF techniques, particularly the one we call ICSI, we can retrieve some sperms from this gentleman's testicles and use that to fertilize his partner's eggs. So IVF has got a wide variety of indications and application. But I do take your point, though, that in for most couples that we see, it's often it's never one person that is fully responsible for for the issue. It could be 70% the female partner and 30% male partner, and vice versa. So, but you are right. But you know, um, having said that, IVF has the potential though to address those issues effectively.
Wow. There's a question coming to my mouth now. Is like, so it looks like everybody, like you said, your goal is to get people pregnant. It looks like from your clinic, everybody can be a parent, can be pregnant. Will I be right to say that? Because
It would be nice. It would be nice. It would be nice. But the good news is, the vast majority of individuals or couples that attend our practice do have healthy baby in the end. It's not always a smooth journey for a lot of people, but the end does justify the means. Now, of course, there will be a handful of people that, despite our best efforts, we were unable to achieve that particular goal. We often provide support as much as we can and provide alternatives. But as a guide, about 95% of our patients will eventually have children, and do very well. So, which leaves us with probably about 5% that will remain, involuntarily infertile.
oh, wow, this is a very good news, really, because I'm looking at some of the people that I know that I can almost say their situation is not even as bad, but they don't know where to go and how to really go about it. And they worry that this is expensive, it doesn't work, or they don't know what the procedure look like even, so they're scared really. And then they tend to go to India to go to all this when you can do it here, you know.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. There's help available locally. We've got practice in Melbourne, in Geelong, and we've got satellites around the country. We do telehealth consulting. So I would say that the help is there locally. But as you probably know, I do see a lot of you know couples and individuals from different part of the world. And one thing that is clear is there are certain cultures where discussing fertility is still a taboo. It's not been spoken about. People don't speak to their sister or friends or colleagues. So I think we're trying to make sure that people do understand that it's okay to talk to your practitioners, to friends or family, if you like, and you never know. And I'll give you instances where I've had couples of Afro-Caribbean heritage, and where we were discussing egg donation, which we probably will talk about shortly. And it's very hard to get someone to donate eggs. They're lifelines. They're really hard to get. So, but there are couples where we've said, why don't we approach a friend or family? But given their background, it's very hard conversation to have with somebody of African background and say, can you please lend me your egg? It's not something you speak to your neighbor about. So those are challenges that we're trying to overcome. And that's where we need people like yourselves, Temi, to raise awareness to that we've got some, mountain to climb, in those areas.
As simple as that. Heidi. Wow. Can harvest. All right. Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask if somebody has got a non-stop cycle, at what point can you actually go for
Heidi's internet is delayed.
Yeah. At what point can you go for egg harvesting if your cycle is really non-stop, but you want children so badly? What can you say to a woman that's having that issue?
Yeah, if I got your question correctly, it relates to when we could do the egg harvest if the menstrual cycle is irregular. That's
right.
Yeah. So when we're doing egg collections, we take over the woman's menstrual cycle completely. So even women that never had periods or have irregular cycles, it wouldn't matter so much at that point because we give hormones that will take over the cycles completely, such that things become far more predictable, and we can harvest the eggs in the vast majority of people without any difficulty.
Wow.
Even if the woman is menopausal?
Well, okay, that's a very different question. If we could harvest eggs in menopausal women, we'll become magicians, not obstetricians.
Okay.
Up to the age of 45 in Australia, we will still embark on egg collection if we believe it's a reasonable step forward. Above the age of 45, it's highly unlikely that we would have a viable pregnancy. And for that reason, you wouldn't find many practitioners offering that particular procedure. So unfortunately, above that age, that's where we will start looking into egg donation, if that's applicable.
Wow. Egg donation. I know, Heidi, if you hold on there, let's go on a quick break because these eggs, you just said 50 years you might not have viable. What if, just in case, I do, we go on a break, we'll be back. Welcome back on the show. Get your friends, get your family, share these particular videos because it would be rather unfair to have this information and not share, especially to people that might need it. Really, thank you so much, Dr. Moses Abe, because you're making these things every time you're talking. I'm hearing nothing is impossible. This thing is possible. This thing is possible. And you know how many people have been for a long, long time without, and it's possible, but they didn't know because no one is really sharing this information. You're making it feel easier and very acceptable to me personally. I'm feeling good about it because I'm looking at my, people that I refer, my own family that I know they're seriously struggling with this. One of them is got endometriosis. One of them is got polycystic ovarian that he said is choking the baby kept on dying. But the doctors did not refer. I don't know why they haven't referred them. Why is this, doctor?
It's very hard to comment on individual cases, but one thing that you can do is you should be aware that you can self-refer to a specialist if you wish to. The reason why we advise going to a GP is because GP could assist us to determine the appropriateness of those referrals, do some baseline investigations, But having said that, there is nothing to prevent someone from approaching a specialist and to be assessed. So I would always encourage anyone that requires our services to approach us, and it's okay to do that if you have to. And there are people that are living, outside the the city, in the countryside. They've got no, easy access to the GPs. There are times where it would be appropriate to seek assistance with a specialist. So I would say I certainly wouldn't recommend living with endometriosis without assistance. I certainly wouldn't recommend living with polycystic ovaries. And these are conditions that have big impact on quality of life, and they could also have implications as well for future fertility. So definitely we want to see you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Well, you were talking about harvesting a egg. So do you have to be family relation before you harvest, or can you harvest for your friends? Would they be carrying my egg, or what's the implication of that?
Yeah, okay. All right. So I'll throw some light on the egg donation thing. There are two basic ways to approach that. One is what we call known donors, which is what we're discussing, which is somebody that you know. The other one is anonymous donor, which means the ones that we're providing as a clinic. So now the thing is, getting anonymous donor is still difficult. There's hardly any waiting list as such. So often a lot of people will resort to having a known donor, which is a friend or a family. It shouldn't matter so much who is giving us the eggs. What matters is to make sure the person has been screened and is able to donate eggs. I mean, for a start, they have eggs to donate, and secondly, they are proven to be fertile, and also to be screened for infectious diseases and genetically screened to make sure it's all good to go. And of course, the donor has to be aware of what that means to donate eggs to somebody, which is a big deal. So everyone has to go through counseling. That's just mandatory in Victoria. The donor, the recipient, and so it is a very involved process. But like I said, it works.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor, for the time spent. We know we're going to bring you back because we've got another major topic in this area that we want to talk to you about, but we thought that's going to take time, so we're not going to exhaust all our time with you today, so we can just minimize that for next week. But willing, if you have the time again for us, we'll bring you back next week. Thank you so much, Doctor. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you for giving live. Continue to give live. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. There you go, all. You share the video, let people know helps are available, and this is reachable. You don't need to be crying on your own by yourself for things that are possible. Reach out. And
I think if Doctor can quickly share where people can get a hold of him before he goes.
Yes, true. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Temi. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, he's missed out on. I will. Doctor is coming next week, so we see you again next week. Bye for now.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.